Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. Today I want to take a look at Immortal Hulk. This comic book means a lot to me. It's an omnibus that I think about day in and day out, and every time I read a Hulk story, I wish it was just a little bit more similar to Immortal Hulk. Now, I don't want to take too much time talking about the story from beginning to end. I feel like there's a ton of different videos that already talk about that. I want to talk about something a little bit more important to the actual story itself: mental health. Now, Ewing, who wrote this story, leaves a lot of underlying tones and themes about mental health and how they affect Bruce Banner as well as Hulk. We see this right at the beginning and the introduction of the story itself. In Immortal Hulk number 12, we see Brian Banner, Bruce's father, come home from work late, and Bruce is playing on the floor with his toys like a young child would. Eventually, Brian accidentally steps on one of these toys and lashes out at Bruce. Bruce's mother comes to his aid and says, "Brian, please, why would you do that? Don't yell at a child about something silly like that." But Brian just scoffs. He calls him a little monster, right? Almost as if he hates Bruce for a reason. We'll get into that more here in just a second. This in turn leaves Bruce to take out his anger in a very violent way. He takes a glass cup and smashes it on the ground, repeating to himself, "Smash, smash," almost as if that glass cup was full of foreshadowing. Now, later on, we learn that Brian Banner himself was a scientist studying gamma radiation. Now, one day, one of his experiments went horribly wrong, and he sees an entity known as the One Below All. Now, it is believed in Brian's mind that Bruce Banner is the entity, or at least the embodiment of this entity of the One Below All. So he in turn gives him his hatred and tells Bruce all throughout his toddler little child life, "You are a monster. You are nothing. You have to make up these constructs and personalities in your head to protect and love you, because if you act like the real you, you will bring nothing but death." Now, like I said, guys, I'm not going to take a look at everything within the comic book. I'm not going to go by issue. I want to focus on the main theme for today, mental health. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit, and we're going to get into some spoilers. Now, eventually, Brian ends up killing Bruce's mother right in front of his eyes and is hauled off to an insane asylum. 15 years later, he is released, where Bruce eventually kills him out of anger. We're going to revisit Brian here in just a minute, and I'm going to leave off on that little tidbit, little nugget of information there, right? We're going to talk about someone else that Bruce holds very near and dear to his heart, Betty Ross. Now, Betty Ross, as many of you know, Elizabeth Betty Ross, has been Hulk's and Bruce's love interest since almost the existence of the comic book, right? Of course, she came out maybe a little bit later, but she is always seen as somebody who can not only be a love interest to Bruce, but also bring Hulk to his knees and essentially calm him down a little bit more than anybody else in existence could. Now, why is this important? Well, it's because in the Immortal Hulk storyline, Betty holds on to this entity known as Red Harpy. She can change in and out of this form just like Bruce can, maybe even a little bit easier because Bruce needs to be angry. It might have to be dark for a certain Hulk to come out. And now I'm telling you all this for a reason. It's because anytime Bruce goes to talk to Betty throughout the Immortal Hulk storyline, Betty changes into Red Harpy. Remember, guys, we're taking a look at the mentality of these people and where they are within each other's relationships and lives. Now, Betty Ross only talks to Bruce as Red Harpy because of all of the resentment and hatred that she holds towards Bruce, right? Because Bruce left her many times alone and scared. She didn't know if Bruce was alive, if Hulk was alive, if they were dead. She didn't know. So anytime he goes to talk to her, she's in her Red Harpy form. Anytime somebody else, a side character, a friend, a teammate goes to speak to her, she's in her Betty form. So now we know that Bruce not only lost his mother, he lost his father, which isn't, I guess, that big of a loss, right? I mean, he was kind of a... But he also lost Betty, his heart, his reason to keep going, the only person who can calm Hulk down when he needs it most. Now, between dealing with his father, right, his painful past and memories and his anxieties that he holds on from his father, and getting the cold shoulder from Betty, we can now look at the Green Door again. I told you we would revisit this, and I put it here for a reason. The green door holds a significance because Bruce actually partially opened it when the gamma radiation explosion happened, giving him his powers to become the Hulk. It was partially opened by Bruce, partially opened by the One Below All. And he essentially wants to open it and walk the earth freely. He has to open that green door completely. So what does Bruce, Hulk, all of the Hulk personas, Betty, and everybody within the team, including some members from Alpha Flight, they go to hell and they confront the One Below All. Now essentially what we're looking at is Bruce confronting all of his past trauma, all of his anxieties, the bad memories. I mean, this is literally Bruce and Hulk's nightmare. They don't want to see what the One Below All has done. And what he has done is reanimate Bruce's father Brian as kind of like a host body. So Bruce and Hulk must face their fears to save the day once again. But can he do it? Yes, he can. They face their fears, and all along the way, Hulk is asking the One Below All, why? Why did you give me this much grief, this much loss in my life? I've lost everyone I've ever loved and care about. Why did you give me this? So once all is said and done, Hulk and Bruce leave, closing the green door behind them. What they leave with is nothing. Betty is still mad at them. Alpha Flight goes and does their own thing. Due to a fight that they had during, I would say, about the middle of the Immortal Hulk storyline, the Avengers are no longer in contact with the Hulk. Bruce is once again by himself. But this is a triumph. This is not a loss. Because Bruce is no longer chained down by his past memories, anxieties, and all of that pain anymore. He understands what was taken from him, and he understands what he needs to do now. He can go and be his own man. He can make Hulk what he needs him to be. All of the other Hulk personas respect Bruce more for that. Bruce's destiny is no longer in the hands of the One Below All. It's in Bruce's hands. The green door is closed, and there's nothing but opportunity. That's why I believe Immortal Hulk is a masterpiece. When I say I think about it all the time, I really do. I think I'm going to reread it again after this. I've already read it twice, and it is a big book. But, I mean, I love it. It's a triumphant story that at the end doesn't seem like much, because he doesn't have anything material to hold on to. What he has is his mental freedom. He is now free to leave, to go, to stay. He isn't held down anymore. Anyways, guys, thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate it and can't wait to push out more content. Let me know what you guys think.